Since you were a little bitty boy sitting in a booster chair, or you might look like Larry Moe or Curly if a stranger cut your hair. Well, Butte, Montana, just passing through. One thing I just had to do, had to get a haircut, and I was worried for my hair. Oh, I had a feeling of impending doom the minute I stepped into that room, laid my eyes upon that barber chair. It was a macho barber shop. Hair dryers were mounted on a rifle rack. There were no mirrors. The barber chair was a Peterbilt. Barber walked in, he was huge, 7 feet tall, 300 pounds of spring steel and rawhide, wearing a hard hat and chewing a cigar. Had on a t-shirt that said, "I hate musicians." Threw me in the chair, sneered, and said, "What'll it be, pal?" Now, a lot of people would be intimidated in a situation like this. I was not. I am what I am, play my piano and sing my little songs. I looked him right in the eye and I said, "I'm a logger. Yeah, just in from Coos Bay, Oregon. Been topping trees. Quite possibly the toughest man in the entire world." He said, "All right." He gave me a haircut. I walked out there, friends, my hair was gone. Made Kojak look like William Lee Golden. Yeah, had a tremendous craving to operate heavy equipment. Now, you might think that Butte, Montana haircut's the worst any man could ever get. Wrong. Well, a few months later, I was way down south. Grits and gravy and a hush your mouth. Hair so long, I'm starting to look like a man in drag. It was then that the sheriff walked up and said, "Hey, boy, you got too much hair on that head. You better get yourself a haircut or a dog tag." Well, when I stepped into the shop, I realized immediately that I was dealing with a born-again barber. Don't see too many barber shops with a steeple. Had an organ in the corner, a choir. An usher led me to the barber chair. The barber walked in and started saying grace. "Oh, Lord, for these haircuts we're about to receive, may we be truly thankful. Dominus possum pox probiscus postmortem et tu brute puella carborundum." He was sort of half Baptist and half Catholic. Maybe a Catechist. Anyway, he started cutting my hair and preaching at the same time. I mean, he's a wild man. Scissors and razors are flying around my head. He's talking about the evils of dancing and drinking and liquor and sex and wild women and music and the music business. Then he looked down at me and said, "What do you do for a living?" Now, I'm not ashamed of what I do for a living. Work in bars and casinos, around liquor and wild women. Hey, I just play my piano, sing my little songs. I looked him right in the eye and I said, "I run this church for loggers." Oh, when you get a haircut, be sure to go back home. When you get a haircut, get a barber you have known. Since you were a little bitty boy sitting in a booster chair, or you might look like Larry Moe or Curly if a stranger cut your hair. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get started for tonight. And of course, it's Bible study. We are not going to be doing the music for the moment. We'll bring it back when we go to games. Welcome to tonight's stream. Let's get into it. So we left off in Matthew 13. We kind of started it because we talked about the parable of the sower and the parable of weeds right after that. So we'll start with the mustard seed. The parable of the mustard seed and the leaven. The mustard seed and the leaven. He put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches." Just curious, what does an actual? I know what a mustard seed is. Mustard seed. Yeah, it's tiny. It's okay. Figures it would be the Latter-day Saints. But like it's really, really small. Mustard tree. Is there a human for comparison by chance? With person. Okay, that's not. Let's see. Do we have a photo? And they're definitely big. Which is really interesting. Either way. Because he's saying the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It's the smallest of all seeds, but when it's grown, it's larger than all the other plants. It becomes a tree. The birds come and make nests, you know? What he's essentially saying, I believe, is, the kingdom of heaven. It's this it started off, there's, tiny nothing. It's the smallest of all seeds. But when it's finalized, when it's grown, it's this big conglomeration of people. And then he told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven that a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour till it was all leavened. Leaven is yeast, basically. So what essentially is being said here is she took leaven and she put it in essentially a mixture to make bread, to make bread rise. So it was you had the starting flour, you put in some leaven, and it expands. It's kind of the same concept, which is why they're bundled together. Prophecy and parables. All these things Jesus said to the crowds in parables. Indeed he said nothing to them without a parable. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. I believe we've looked this up, but just because I don't remember, let me take a look. I will open my mouth in parables. Where is this from? Okay. It's not a direct translation. No. Let's see here. Do, 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 do. Oh, here we go. 78. Okay. I don't think that's right. Wait. I'll utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. I will utter dark sayings from of old. Give ear, O people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from of old. Things that we have heard and known that our fathers have told us, we will not hide them from their children, but tell the coming generation glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and the wonders that he has done. It doesn't, I mean, it's close. I don't know if that's quite right. Let's see. We're getting towards the end of Old Testament stuff. Let's see. Um, that actually might have been it. Yeah, that might have been it then. I wouldn't have considered that a prophecy, but that really is interesting. It kind of tells you, prophecies can come from literally anywhere. Like, you don't necessarily realize what they are. And I guess I could see where this could come from. He established testimony in Jacob, pointed the law in Israel. It's just, yeah, it's a story to the next generation. Hmm, interesting. All right, let's continue. What's interesting is, okay, now he's going to explain the weeds, so I guess we need to go back. He put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven must be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds all appeared also. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, 'Master, do you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds?' He said to them, 'An enemy has done this.' So the servants said to him, 'Then do you want us to go and gather them?' But he said, 'No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow until the harvest, and at harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn.'" That's also partially because I originally said that it was because, you could, you know, you would accidentally uproot some of the good stuff with the bad. And I still believe that, and that's still true. But at the same time, it also is important to remember at this point they're still growing, and the plants could theoretically be mistaken. You might look at something and go, "Oh, it looks like a weed," when in actuality it would grow and it would eventually turn into and grow into a plant that's not a weed. It's actually the wheat. Let's see what the explanation is. And he left the crowds and went to the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field." He answered, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds were gathered and burned with fire, so will be the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place where there will be weeping and gnashing, in that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear." There's that phrase again. It was set up above, wasn't it? Yeah, here we go. Happened a few times. Parable of the hidden treasure. The kingdom of heaven is like like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then, in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. So essentially, this treasure is massive. It's the splendorous thing. It's worth more than the field itself. It's worth more than the guy's possession. So he goes, sells everything he has to be able to afford the field, buys the field, and is able to get this treasure. He's given up everything to get this. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who, on finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all that he had and bought it. It's the exact same story. It's just a different topic. Instead of, "Oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy this field because it's, worth a lot of money," it's, "Oh, this pearl is worth a lot. I'm going to go and buy it, and I can, and it's worth much more to me than that." Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore and sat down and sorted the good into containers, but threw away the bad. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come out and separate evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. "Have you understood all these things?" They said to him, "Yes." And he said to them, "Therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who brings out his treasure, what is new and what is old." Okay. When Jesus had finished these parables, he went away from there, and coming to his hometown, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished, and said, and they said, "Where did this man come get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And are not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas are not all his sisters with us? When then did this man get all these things?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and in his own household." And he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. It's kind of interesting because, you know, in many ways, you go and in your own hometown, where in your own like friend circle, essentially, there's not a whole lot of, people are just like, "Oh, I know you. I know what you've done. I know what you're capable of. So, and this is kind of interesting because it's the same kind of concept. We know you. We saw you raised. We saw you do all these things. So, you're like, how do you know this stuff? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, who are you? Whereas, if he went to any other town where he didn't grow up and he's a foreigner, he's essentially looked at just with amazement because they don't know him. They're wondering where he came from. Whereas they're like, "We know where you came from. You're from here." At the time, Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him." For Herod had seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had been saying to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." So he's committing sexual morality because he's telling him, you can't do that. And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people because they held him to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company and pleased Herod, so that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter." And the king was sorry, but because of his oaths, and his guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the body and buried it, and they went and told Jesus. And when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a desolate place by himself. When the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd. He had compassion on them and healed their sick. Now, when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go into the villages and buy food for themselves." But Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They said to him, "We have only 5 loaves here and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing. Then he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces left over. I'm hoping of the bread. I mean, there might have been some leftover fish, but I would hope mostly of the bread. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It's a ghost!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it's I. It is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me!" Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into a boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." I want to go back here real quick to the 5,000. Something that's really interesting. We have all these the, I'm going to use this as kind of an argument against all the ritual stuff that you see in some sects of Christianity, and my reasoning for that is quite simple. Because all he does is he takes these 5 loaves and 2 fish. He doesn't go and do some big ritual or ceremony. All he does is just look up to heaven and said a blessing. He just said a blessing. He prayed to God, said, "Hey, I want, you know," and there you go. That's all that happened, and it filled them all with much leftovers. So, and when they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent around to all that region and brought him to him all who were sick and implored him that they might only touch the fringe of his garment, and as many as touched it were made well. Second. Moment. All right. Traditions and commandments. Then Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat." He answered them, "And why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God commanded, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and whoever reviles father or mother must surely die. But you say, if anyone tells his father or his mother, 'What you would have gained from me is given to God,' he need not honor his father. So for the sake of tradition, you have made void the word of God. You hypocrites! Well did Isaiah prophesy of you when he said, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men.'" This is... I Hold on. What's the original here? I'm curious. It's still a very true statement, though. Sorry about that. I had to step away or had to answer something. Let's see. Okay, that's not. Maybe it's uh. There we go. Um, because this people draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment taught by men. What verse was that? 13. Hmm. Interesting. It seems like it's the right part. It just very different in wording. Because this people draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, um, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment taught by men. Actually, it's really interesting when it continues on because it says, "Therefore, behold, I will again do wondrous things with this people, with wonder upon wonder, and the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the discernment of the discerning men shall be hidden." Interesting. Very interesting. Not quite sure what the purpose of that is, but it's interesting. I'll say that. Hmm. Okay. Either way, though, this is still a very, very true statement nowadays. Like, I can think of many groups of people, oh, they honor me with their lips, but their heart's far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching his doctrines the commandments of men. Like, I think this would be a very good quote to use on, or a very good quote to describe, like, prosperity gospel or, um, the, uh, shoot, what's the term? The progressive Christians. I think that would be a very accurate and appropriate term to use for them. They honor me with their lips, their hearts far from me. In vain do they worship me, because they teach the doctrines of, because they teach as doctrine the commandments of men. And he called the people to him and said to them, "Hear and understand. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth. This defiles a person." Then the disciples came and said to him, "Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this saying?" He answered, "Every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind guides, and if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a pit." But Peter said to him, "Explain the parable to us." And he said, "Are you also still without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and is expelled? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person. Out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile anyone." And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Actually, I'm going to pause real quick. One of the most interesting. Okay, never mind. I was misreading something. I had it right the first time. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region out came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of God, or Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." Got a haircut. Yes, I did get a haircut. Thank you, Bale. So I actually opened the stream with a little funny song that I heard years ago. Still a great song, but maybe I'll play it again later. But anyways, yeah. But when he did not answer her a word, but he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, please help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly. Okay, now that I finished that section, sorry. How you doing? Hello, Basilisk. How are you doing this fine evening? I'm just doing. I'm doing. I'm just doing a Bible study right now, ah, which is what I usually do Friday nights. You're doing good. That's good to hear. I usually do Bible studies Friday night. I will do some games later. What exactly? I'm not sure, but if you want to stick around, you absolutely can. It's your choice whether you do that or not. Um, may listen for a bit. All right, sounds good. Uh, this is kind of an interesting part though, because I have heard this interpreted, especially by people in the progressive Christianity movement, as basically he's being racist and saying, you know, she wants help, and he's just saying it's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. And she said, yes, but even the dog, crumbs that fall from their the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And then, someone, I won't show the video, but he was like, and then, Jesus having been rebuked by this woman, gave this answer, be, great is your faith, woman, be done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. The problem with that is that's not actually what's going on here. What's going on here is she's a Canaanite woman. She's not even Sumerian. She's a Canaanite woman, and essentially, so she's basically Gentile. She's not of the house of Israel. She's not of the people that are like, this isn't about race in the slightest. What it's about is what his purpose is, and he's there for the people of Israel first. As it's actually said in the New Testament, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek, to the Gentile. So it's not a racism thing. It's just that's not he's not at the point of I'm openly doing this for just everyone. I'm doing this specifically for the Jews at this point in time. So he's saying, I was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, because Israel's his main goal at this moment. And then she's, asking, and he says, it's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. Because the Jews are the ones that are meant to be around the Lord's table, in his house. But then she's also responding and saying, hey, I understand I'm not the person you came here for. I'm not what you're supposed to be doing right now. But please just help me. You're like the only person that can. And Jesus goes, okay, you can do it, or I'll let it be done for you. You've proven how dedicated you are to this. You have a lot of faith. Because you're not, from me. You're not a Jew. You have no reason to believe in what they believe. You have no reason to believe that I am here to save you or anyone else. Yet you're still going to put your faith and trust in the fact that I am able to do these things. So that is oh woman, great is your faith. Even if I'm trying to send you away, let it be done for you as you desire. The racism has absolutely nothing to do with it. Its purpose is what it is. And one thing that's actually important to mention is, there's also the counter argument could be made, but he did do it for one of the Roman for one of the Roman centurions. But at the same time, he's also getting a bunch of but you have to remember, it's written, he's getting a bunch of testimony from other people in there. He's getting testimony from the other Jews saying, hey, this guy actually, is friendly to us. He helps us with things. He's not he's like a friend almost. So it's a different scenario. I could be a bit wrong there. If I am, and someone knows better, then please feel free to correct me. But we can have a discussion on that. But for the moment, let's keep going. Jesus went on from there and walked beside the Sea of Galilee, and he went up on the mountain and sat down there. And great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others. And they put them at his feet, and he healed them, so that the crowd wondered. And when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled healthy, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. So we're back to the same thing that we did with the 5,000, except it's only 4 now. And I am unwilling to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. This is probably a decent trip. And the disciples said to him, where are we to get enough bread in such a desolate place to feed so great a crowd? And Jesus said to them, how many loaves do you have? They said 7 and a few small fish. And directing the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they ate, and they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 7 baskets full of broken pieces left over. Those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And after sending away the crowds, he got into the boat and went into to the region of Magadan. Pharisees and Sadducees demand signs. And the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and to test him, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. So he left them and departed. And the sign of Jonah is a kind of an interesting one, because the sign of Jonah, if we go and read Jonah, essentially, Jonah was a prophet called by God to go to a people that, I don't even think they were Jews. I think they were outsiders. But God called Jonah to go there. Jonah didn't like those people. He decided, you know what, I'm not going to go there. God wants me to go there, but I'm not going to. So he got on a ship going basically the exact opposite direction. And a big giant storm comes upon the vessel. And they realize, Jonah's done something. Jonah's the reason this is happening. So they get Jonah out of the equation and throw him overboard. And then he gets swallowed by a fish. Many interpretations, or many people say, it's a whale. We don't know. All it says it was a great fish, a big fish. There's always a bigger fish. So he's in there, but he's in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. And finally, having been in there for so long, he finally goes, Lord, he repents of what he did, and he agrees to go to Nineveh, is where he was supposed to go. So he goes, so the whale spits him out, and it spits him out on the beach, or right near Nineveh. So he goes to Nineveh and says, 5 words, 3 words, and everyone repents in Nineveh. He still didn't like the fact that he did it, but he did. So essentially what it's saying here, the no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. What Jesus is saying is, the only sign that you will be given is that I am going to be in the ground 3 days and 3 nights. Because it's the same time frame. When the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. Jesus said to them, watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, we brought no bread. But Jesus, aware of this, said, oh, you of little faith, why are you discussing among yourselves the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Do you not remember the 5 loaves or the 5,000 and how many baskets you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000 and how many baskets you gathered there? How is it that you fail to understand that I did not speak about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Because it's also said a little leaven leavens the whole lump. So, you have a lot of flour and a tiny bit of yeast. You put a tiny bit of yeast in, the whole thing rises. A little leaven leavens the entire lump. So, little bad corrupts a whole lot of good. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do the people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." And he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Barjona, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. This is a section that's kind of always used as a why the papacy makes sense, and I can kind of understand where they're getting that from. But the other thing is he's specifically talking to Peter. He's not talking to Peter and whoever and Peter's descendants. He's specifically talking to Peter. So even if it isn't, even if this is literally what he means, is whatever Peter says is good and bad is what is good and bad, which I don't think is actually what he's saying. I think he's saying something else. I just don't know what it is yet. Even if it is, he's specifically talking to Peter and saying, "Peter, you're the rock." But that doesn't give the authority of, I'm going to pass that on to someone else. That's just, you have this authority, because Elijah didn't actually pass on what the gift of the Spirit or the Holy Spirit that he had, or the gifting of the Holy Spirit that he had to Elisha. Because Elisha said, "I want to, I want a twofold blessing of what you have." And Elijah doesn't say, "Granted." He says, if God wills, and he gives, okay, here's how we'll find out. If you see me go up, then God has given you that. If you don't see me go up, then God has denied that. So we know for a fact that it's not something that's passed on. Even if he means exactly what he's saying here, then the papacy still doesn't make sense. Because this isn't giving the papacy power. This is just Peter, and that's it. And Peter doesn't have the authority to pass it on. And even if Peter is given the authority, by some reason once, that doesn't mean it's going to happen a second time or a third time. Because Elisha never, as far as we're aware, or as far as I know, never passes his on. And he didn't have, and again, Elijah didn't have the authority to make that call. It was God who did that. So God's always in control of everything. Anyways, from that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. There's that again. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall never happen to you." But he turned aside to Peter and turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but the things of man." That's a really strong thing. I mean, you have to remember, he literally just said, "On this rock I will build my church. I'll give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven." And then, literally right after this, we have the same person getting rebuked hard for doing something wrong. So turn around. And then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will the profit man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? The Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." This blue. Go. Yep. Wait, it didn't give me the prompt. Give me the prompt. Thank you. Um, Truly I say to you, for there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That's really interesting, and we're pretty sure that is referring to John, because John wrote Revelation. He's the one who had this great vision of the end times what and Jesus coming with his kingdom, which would fulfill that. He won't taste death until he sees the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Because there are rumors, I don't know whether they're true or not, but we believe that John was exiled because they physically couldn't kill him. Like, they tried, they boiled him in a pot of oil, and he just was unscathed. So they just were like, okay, we're just going to exile you on an island, and that's where he had his vision. So after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with them. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He was still speaking when, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." And when the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise and have no fear." And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, "Tell no one the vision until the Son of Man is raised from the dead." And the disciples asked him, "Why then why do the scribes say that the first Elijah must come?" He answered, "Elijah does come, and he will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but did to him whatever they pleased. So also the Son of Man will certainly suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood he was speaking to them of John the Baptist. And that's kind of an interesting one, because I'm not, to be honest, I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. Because like, when it says Elijah has already come, and it's referring to John the Baptist. Are we talking about, like, Elijah as the actual person? Because then we have John the Baptist as a person that's already lived, which is a bit weird and kind of sort of unprecedented, because this isn't someone being resurrected from the dead. This is someone being completely changed into a different person, essentially. Is it the Spirit of God that is, like the Spirit of God that was in Elijah that's in John the Baptist? And that's what it means? It's just kind of a complicated thing to try to figure out. And I don't have the answer to that. When they came to the crowd, a man came up to him and, kneeling before him, said, "Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire and often into the water." And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, Why could we not cast it out? He said to them, Because of your little faith. For true, uh, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Again, this kind of harkens back, how small is a mustard seed? It's virtually nothing. We barely have anyone, or sorry, brain's a little weird, confused right now. But like we barely, it's this really small thing. It's not worth much. It's not very much at all. But if you have that much faith, this tiniest amount, you'll say to a mount, you'll say to the mountain or to a mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Now, I believe that's in the context of, if God wills for you to do something, like asks you, do this. Because that's, I'm having faith in God that he is going to do as he said he would. So if I say to do this, then it will happen because God said so. Because otherwise it's not really faith, it's just, my own thinking, you know, my own flesh. As they were gathering in Galilee, Jesus said to them, The Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day. And they were greatly distressed. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma tax went up to Peter and said, Does your teacher not pay the tax? He said, Yes. And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, What do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? And when he said, From others, Jesus said to him, Then the sons are free. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook and take the first fish that comes up. And when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that and give it to them for me and for yourself. This is another great example of, we could have, like giving, the government what it's due, like, does your teacher not pay the tax? No, he doesn't pay the tax. And then Jesus asks, what do you think? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? From others. Then the sons are free. So I imagine this is kind of a parallel, who does the king of heaven take toll or tax? Does he take it from his own sons or does he take it from others? Others. Then the sons are free because they're not doing, they're but to not give offense to everyone else. Anyways, just, another give what's due kind of thing. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones to believe, who believe in me, to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. What's the footnote? I'm just thinking. Because one thought that comes to mind is the fact that we're called children of God, So it almost makes me wonder, because it says, whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck to be drowned in the depth of the sea. Because you're either going to do that and not kill yourself and not cause them to sin, than, do that and have to face the wrath of God on that, or the anger of God. But I think it genuinely just means the kids. Woe to the world for temptations to sin, for it is necessary that temptations come, but woe to the one by whom the temptation comes. And if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw away. It is better for you to enter life crippled or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than with 2 eyes to be thrown into the hell of fire. We kind of talked about this. Sin is this, can almost be equated to like a bear trap. Because, you get stuck, you get your paw in there, you get stuck. It hurts, and you're stuck there and you can't go anywhere. And some bears, if they're desperate enough and want to be free, they will literally chew their leg off. And it's a super painful and hard process. But they will actually tear it off and chew it off and pull away. And they'll be missing a limb, but they'll still live. And I think that's it's the same concept here. Is, it's better that you just get rid of whatever's causing the problem than deal, and be able to enter the kingdom of heaven than to keep doing what you're doing and end up falling into, being cast into hell. That. I don't know that heard that. It was like a ps or a p. I don't know what that was. It was such a weird noise. Then you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. What do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains to go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I say to you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray. So it is not the will of my Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. If your brother sins against you, go to and tell him his fault, between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. And this is kind of an interesting one. Because essentially what he's saying is, if something is done wrong against you, go tell him the fault between you and him alone. So in other words, keep it private. No one else needs to know. If he listens, and, realizes what he's done and repents, you've gained your brother. If he doesn't listen, then take 1 or 2 others along. So now you're bringing other people in, because that way every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. So in other words, there's 2 other people who have this, who have encountered the fact that you told him not to do this. So then, if it ever comes to the point that he needs to be, brought forth on some charge amongst the people, these people, you have witnesses that said, we took this to him, he didn't do anything about it. He didn't repent, he didn't, turn from that. He justified his actions or something like that. Like, if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. So it's essentially now we're going, the witnesses, we're stepping it up and saying, now it's open to the congregation, not the whole world, but just your church, just the church, just the body of the believers, so that they know, so that everyone is aware of the fact that this happened. And you have 2 witnesses, 1 or 2 witnesses to back you up. We brought this to him. He didn't do anything. about it. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. In other words, he's not even one of us anymore. Like, we're not, like, you aren't, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know where your head's at, but you're not one of us at this point. Go. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And there you go. There's your evidence against the part from earlier, specifically to Peter. Because this is the exact same words. It's not the keys of heaven, but it's, truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose shall be loosed. So essentially, it's the exact same words. And he's not talking to just Peter. He's talking to the disciples. Or to all his disciples. Again, I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father who in heaven. Where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am among them. And that's really comforting, is, when we gather as a church, what we don't necessarily always think about is the fact that Jesus is there with us, because we're gathered in his name. We're gathered to do his work. And that also counts if we're going out and we're walking around, or we're praying for people, or we're, preaching his word. He's there with us in that moment, not just in spirit, but like actually with us. Like, not present in body, to be clear, but like, so I guess kind of the idea is, he's listening, he's there, and he will help, or he will send help. Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times. Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. This is kind of an interesting part, because there's actually something else to this that I want to bring up. And I've noticed it before, and I just want to bring it up since we're talking about it. But essentially, we go back to Genesis 3, I believe. No, sorry, it's Genesis chapter 4. We scroll down, we have Cain and Abel have killed, Cain kills Abel. Cain goes running off, and God puts a mark on him, on Cain, saying, anyone who kills Cain, I will punish 7 times, or I will take vengeance on them 7-fold. And then down the line, you get to one of Cain's descendants, which is Lamech. And Lamech, does something, or kills someone. He says to his wives, it until I hear my voice, you wives of Lamech, listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain's revenge is 7-fold, then Lamech's is 77-fold. And what's interesting is that this point and this point are the only times we hear, as many as 7 times, and then 77 right after. We hear the exact same step up. And it's really I kind of find that really interesting, is that we're going for, and that's the only 2 times those ever happen in the entirety of the Bible, of God's word, from cover to cover, as far as I'm aware, and as far as I can find. If Cain's revenge is 7-fold, Lamech's is 77-fold. Then, how many times will I forgive my brother? As many as 7? Not 7 times, but 77 times. It's the same concept. It's this, you want to do something. Well, don't do it this many times, do it this many times. If God's going to get revenge on Cain, then my revenge will be 77 times as bad. So 11 times as bad. And then Jesus is saying, how many times are you going to forgive someone? 7 times? No, you're going to forgive them 11. You're going to forgive them 77 times. It's the same parallel. Now that is a fascinating parallel. Indeed it is. Welcome, Camo. It's been a minute. How are you doing this fine God-given evening? This is one of those things I remember reading about. Because when I started this year, the first day I was reading, I read, if Cain's revenge is 7-fold, then Lamech's is 77-fold. I'm like, that number sounds familiar. I'm good. I've been here a while, just haven't had any input to get full. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was like, I see one viewer. I don't know if they're actually if this is actually right or not. But yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, so I was reading this. I was like, this sounds familiar. So I went and looked it up, and it's this. And then I try to find it, and I don't find anything else. Like here, if I do 77. You see, this bold is the exact text. And you see it's finding things that are similar, but it's not finding the exact text. Other than Judges, where it's 77 men, which is not the same thing. And we can keep going through and nothing. 77 lambs. Again, we don't have this step up. And we can keep scrolling and there's no bold. And then here you go. I don't say to see you 7 times, but 77 times. I just find that really interesting. Thought I refresh this one page. There we go. There's my marking. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. The parable of the unforgiving servant. That's where we are. I didn't notice that somehow. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold, and his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And out of pity for the man, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. He's not just saying, okay, you have more time to pay me back. He's saying, I'm not going to require the payment. Just, you know what? Fine, go. Just whatever. I forgive you of this debt. You don't actually have to pay me. But when the same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, and seizing him, he began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, in the exact same way that he just did to his master. Have patience with me and I'll pay you. And then but the servant refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When the fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went to reported to their master all that had taken place. And they probably wouldn't know about this forgiving of the debt, because I would imagine this was just between the servant and the master, and the most there would have been maybe another servant or a friend in the room. They wouldn't necessarily know about this, so they're reporting this. And then the master summoned the servant and goes, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. And should you not have had the same mercy should you not have mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? Like, it's not even different mercies, it's the same one. That's not to say we shouldn't still be merciful in other things, but it's exactly the same situation. And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Actually, real quick, I want to find something, because there actually was a modern example of this that I found. I was watching, I was just scrolling through memes, and I found a meme that was exactly the same thing, just in like a modern telling. Here you go. We have, the modern telling version of this. We have, the cop. Here, I'll zoom in. We have the cop. Kids hit a baseball through the back window, and the cops and the kid's like, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't want to do that. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. The cop has pity and is like, here, just have your ball. It's fine. Whatever. The cop's happy. The kid walks away happy, and then the friender of the kid breaks the bat and does the same thing. Pleads, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Please forgive me. And then the kid goes, give me the money for the bat so I can replace it. Instead of being merciful, cop hears about this or sees it and reverses his course about the window. Like it is exactly the same. It's just a modern version of the same story. And when Jesus finished these sayings, he went away from Galilee and entered the region of Judea beyond the Jordan, and large crowds followed him, and he healed them there. And Pharisees came up to him and tested him by asking, "Is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any cause?" He answered, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female?" And said, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. They said to him, "Why then did Moses command one to give a certificate of divorce and to send her away?" He said to them, "Because of your hardness of heart, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery." The disciples said to him, "If such is the case of a man and his wife, it is better not to marry." But he said to them, "Not everyone can receive this saying, but only those to whom it is given. For there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by men. And there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let the one who is able to receive this, receive it." And this is actually the same thing Paul says, it's better not to marry. But if your desires are at war within you, then get married. It is no sin to get married, but it is a sin to, divorce someone. And actually, I'm going to expand on that a little bit because funnily enough, I have information about this. I just need to find it again. Where did I put it? Here we go. So Ephesians actually kind of expands on this. I believe it was that. I take it back. So we're actually going to go back from 19. We're going to go to Matthew 5. We're going to backtrack just a little bit. Matthew 5. Let's see. Divorce. Here we go. Lust in this and divorce. You have heard it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Note that that's not even a married person who's already married and given to someone. That's anyone, regardless of whether you're married or not. If you look at someone with lustful intent, that is adultery. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away, for it is better that you lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Same thing he says about sin. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away, for it is better that you lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, "Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife on the grounds of sexual immorality makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." Which is really interesting. Because this is the same thing he's talking about here. The Pharisees are bringing it up later on, but he's already talked about this. And where over here he just says, whoever divorces, his wife and marries another commits adultery, which is what it said. It doesn't specifically say that here. It says whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Over here, he's saying if you divorce your wife and remarry, you're committing adultery. And he's also saying that if you divorce your wife, you are making her commit adultery. The only exception is if it's on the grounds of sexual immorality, and even then, that was only because that only means you're not making her commit sexual immorality, and you're not committing sexual immorality. Because this ground on the ground of sexual immorality is not specified for whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. That's just adultery regardless. And over here he's saying, except on the ground of sexual, whoever divorces his wife and marries another, except for sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery. Over here, that could be someone who's unmarried or someone who's married. In other words, unless it's you divorced because of that, you can't remarry, and even then, you can't marry someone who's divorced. The exception, as Paul talks about, is if two divorced individuals reconcile and come back together, because they're already still one flesh. They always were. So we're bringing the same union back together. That's not a sin because they're already one flesh. There was another connection I remember making. I just don't remember what it was. Okay, we're actually going to go to 1 Corinthians. Minute here. 1 Corinthians 6. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, the two will become one flesh. But he who is joined to the Lord becomes one spirit with him. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. And what's really interesting about that is we can then link that back, because we know the two shall, so they are no longer two but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. Essentially, the two shall become one flesh. So they're actually one body. You don't think of it that way, but that's what it is. So what's interesting here is we're saying every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. So he's not just, so if you commit sexual immorality and you're married, you're not just sinning against yourself, you're sinning against your partner, which is kind of an interesting thought that I've never had before. And I don't think any of my friends had that thought before either, because like, for example, I'm not, but if I was married, I'd be married to someone. I'd be one flesh with them. They are part of my body, even though they're not physically part of my body. But I'm by sexual immorality is a sin against my own body. Any other sin, it's outside the body. But it's sexual immorality is against my body. She is also my body, so therefore I'm sinning against her. And I'm causing her to sin in the same way. It's just an interesting combination that I came to the realization of. Then children were brought to him that he might lay hands on them and pray. The disciples rebuked the people, but Jesus said, Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of heaven. And he laid hands on them and went away. And behold, a man came up to him, saying, Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life? And he said to him, Why do you ask me about what is good? There is only one who is good. If you would enter life, keep the commandments. He said to him, Which ones? And Jesus said, You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The young man said to him, All these I have kept. What do I still lack? Jesus said to him, If you would be perfect, go, sell what you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, follow me. When the young man heard this, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. And Jesus said to his disciples, Truly I say to you, only with difficulty will a rich person enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Imagine a needle, tiny, tiny hole, really small. It's even smaller than that. But you could barely it's hard to put a thread through that. And even back then, I think the hole would have been a lot bigger. But, imagine that, the eye of a needle. And we're taking a giant dromedary camel, and we're trying to shove it through this tiny hole. That ain't going to happen. And that's exactly what they're saying is, when the disciples heard this, they were greatly astonished, saying, who then can be saved? Because, no one's going to fit through that hole. But Jesus looked at them and said, with man, this is impossible. But with God, all things are possible. Then Peter said in reply, See, we have left everything and followed you. What then will we have? Jesus said to them, Truly I say to you, in the new world, when the Son of Man will sit on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or lands for my name's sake will receive 100-fold and will inherit eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last first. I could go ahead and do 20 and we'll call it for the Bible study portion of the stream. Does anyone has anything to add? Any questions? For the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you. So they went. Going out again about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, he did the same. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing. And he said to them, Why do you stand here idle all day? They said to him, Because no one has hired us. He said to them, You go into the vineyard too. And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first. And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now, when those hired first came, they thought they would receive more. Or when those hired first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, These last only worked 1 hour, and you would have them and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat. But he replied to them, Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. For I choose to give this to this last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? For the last will be first and the first last. I think that's kind of interesting because what comes to mind here is essentially, there are people that are born again. Maybe they were born again for less than a day before they died. Maybe they were born again for their entire life. Maybe they grew up in the church. They were born again at a young age. They followed Jesus with their whole heart their entire life, and they lived, 100 years or something. All of these people have lived different times, have been born again, and followed Jesus for, however long. But in the end, they all received the same prize. They're all given eternal life. One's not given more. There will be rich. There are rewards. There are things that we will get in addition. But that's not. We all receive the same prize. We all receive eternal life. We're all given the same thing because that was the agreement. Do you begrudge my generosity? I'm not making, someone who's on their deathbed, they come to me, they get saved. Do you begrudge my generosity that I still allowed them to be born again in their last hour? You know. And as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and he will be raised on the third day." Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something. He said to her, "What do you want?" She said to him, "Say that these two sons of mine are to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left in your kingdom." Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." He said to them, "You will drink my cup. But to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those to whom it has been prepared by my Father." And when the 10 heard it, they were indignant at the two brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you. For whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Um, this is kind of an interesting part, to sit at left and right hand. And Micah made a good point to me a long time ago about what that was. Essentially, he realized this is in reference to something called the candlesticks, and it's a prophecy about the end times and the two prophets that will appear and be killed and then rise again in the end times. And those are the ones that'll sit at his left and right hand. And I don't think she realized that when she was asking that. She just asked, make sure that they're sitting at my left and right hand and one at your left in your kingdom. And Jesus is saying, you don't know what you're asking. And he asked them, are you able to, take the punishment that I'm to take? You will drink my cup, and they say they are. So Jesus is like, okay, you will. But to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father, because that has been prophesied. That is something we know is going to happen. Whoever's got the Father's prepared it for, that's who it's for. So you will suffer my fate, but that doesn't mean you're going to. That doesn't mean you're going to sit at my left hand or my right hand, because that's not my decision to make. And as they went out of Jericho, a great crowd followed him. And behold, there were two blind men sitting by the roadside. And when they heard that Jesus was passing by, they cried out, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." The crowd rebuked them, telling them to be silent, but they cried all the more, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." And stopping by, Jesus called them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, let our eyes be opened." And Jesus, in pity, touched their eyes, and immediately they recovered their sight and followed him. All right. I marked something. Yeah, okay. I use kind of my, what I have and haven't marked to figure out where I am for next each week, or where I left off, because I don't always remember. We'll go ahead and pause on this part of the stream, and we'll go ahead and get the next part up. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Decide that. I'm gonna do some Bedwars. I'm gonna do Bedwars by myself though. I don't want to do Bedwars with anyone else at this exact moment. I've done a lot of that this week. I just kind of want to have some solo time to myself. Let's see. Here, save, and then we'll go ahead and change the Minecraft, change tags, those three off.
It is for freedom that Christ has set us free.
Minecraft,
And do not let
Bedwars,
yourself be burdened again by the yoke of slavery.
Pixel Bedwars. There we go. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. Just gotta launch the game now. All right, there we go. Now, I've done a lot of Bedwars with viewers this week, so I think I'm gonna try some solos. If someone wants to join, we might do that, but for the moment, I'll do solos. McDonald's Skeppy. That's. I mean, that is their skin. They are indeed McDonald's Skeppy. So, at least they have a very accurate skin for what they are.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, First and Second
Here to do.
Corinthians, Galatians,
There we go.
Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, First and Second Thessalonians, First and Second Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, First and Second Peter, First and Second John,
The Sussy Banana. That's a
Revelation.
username that exists. I try to feel about that one. Hi, Red.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, First and Second Corinthians.
There we go.
Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, First and Second Thessalonians, First and Second Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, First and Second John, Jude, Revelation.
Don't know what's about to happen, but we're gonna see.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
No diamonds for them.
In all your ways
Okay.
acknowledge him and
Probably gonna lose my bed. Yep.
direct your path. And lean not on your own understanding.
Okay, that didn't go quite according to plan, but that's fine.
Acknowledge him and he will direct your path. Sing with me from the book of wisdom, Proverbs chapter 3.
I'm expecting Red to come charging after me here. And they've got enchanted diamond or enchanted armor. Fun.
Trust the Lord, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways
Ah, dang it. GG.
acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
Yeah, I'm not the best at attacks. Honestly, I probably should have just gone for it, but fortunately that didn't happen, so. Continue on. Yep. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, look, it's the same map again. There goes Gray, fast speed bridging. Nothing inherently wrong with speed bridging. Just a really... That was dumb. I meant to place a blog, I missed. Not the worst thing I've ever done, but definitely could have been better. Barely any health, good grief. Okay. Go. GG. Okay. Yeah. That map just might not be my map. I need to take. Everybody wants your bed. Not everybody. I know for a fact because I got attacked. Ooh. That was weird. How did the Bible study go? Not many people, but it went well overall, I would say. Seems Camo got something new out of it, so I will take that as a victory for the night. How are you doing, Mega? Also, I like how it's the point of the stream where it's like, I'm already done with the Bible study when you show up. I don't think I've played on this map yet. Got some verticality to it. Is Blue even here? No, they're not. Okay. It's actually nice because that means I basically have free reign here. So where are the emerald gens? That's my question. This is a bit weird. Oh, I see. An interesting emerald gen location. I hadn't respawned yet. That was just what I was wondering. Sorry, I haven't seen all your messages. I'll catch up in just a second, Mega. We got timed out. See if I can win just one more diamond here. Doing well. I was busy. You have played on this map. We literally played on it together before. What did Camo get out of it? I don't actually remember. You'd have to go back in the stream bod. I just remember they got something that they said. Now that is a fascinating parallel, and that was the first thing they said. What exactly that was, though, I do not remember. Unfortunately. That detail has kind of been wiped from my brain, unfortunately.
Such knowledge is too wonderful for me.
Okay, let me get
from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the top,
Invis, actually.
you are there. If I make my
I think that's
garden,
probably gonna be more useful than.
you are there. If I rise
And I
above
want
the dome,
that and
if
that.
I settle on the far
Sweet.
side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me.
You're still here, Camo? There was Parable with the 77. Oh, yes.
If I say,
Thank you.
surely the
Um,
darkness will hide me, and the light
Camo, what'd you get out of
will
it? Yeah,
shine.
Camo, sorry.
Even the darkness
I-
will not be dark to you.
I'm kind of acting as a mediator between two platforms.
For darkness,
So Camo got the, or it was the Parable of the, I paralleled the 77, the fact that, you know, the
I praise you,
77,
I am fearfully and
you know,
wonderfully
how many times will you forgive? Well, not
wonderful.
not seven, I say not 7, but 70 times 7.
Was not hidden from you
Um,
when I was made
And I showed that there was, that the only other time that ever actually shows up at that wording
Your eyes
is
saw my
in,
unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your
or
book
from Matthew,
before
it shows
one
up in,
came to be.
oh, reading his chat messages, okay.
How
Yeah, but how it
precious
shows up in,
is God. How
um,
vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you.
dang it. Oh, there's more emerald gems on the roofs. Okay, I didn't notice that. Interesting. My bad. But yeah, how that parallels the thing in Genesis with you know, hey, you know, you know, if he takes revenge, you know, X number of times, you know, if his Cain's vengeance is 7-fold, then mine's 77 times. And then he says right after that, you know, or in Matthew, it's, you know, how many times will we forgive? 7 times? Not 7 times, I say, but 77 times. You know, that parallel. This is kind of an interesting one. Because as far as I'm aware, those are the only 2 times those ever show up like that. Go. Hello, Pink. My Magic Pink's probably screaming right now. Probably gonna lose my bed to Pink, because I'm not at my base. But yep, was expecting that. Don't think Pink's expecting me here. Fortunately, I have the getaway plan. Oh, hey, Mega. You're gonna head out. See you another time. All right. Oh. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna let Micah chat for a bit because I am a little preoccupado at the moment.
Treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be. Anyone who has
GG. Okay.
should share with
There we go.
do the same. Anyone who wants to be first must be the very last, and the servant
I think Camo may have left. I don't know. Either that or they're just taking time to respond. We'll see. Maggie, you want to join in on the gameplay?
Where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal.
Oh wow. Okay.
For where your treasure
Well, that was unfortunate.
is, your heart will be. Anyone who has to
I seem to have accidentally determined. I managed to somehow get Gray to back off. Not quite sure how, but at least for a minute. You gotta go as well. Your dad's picking up. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, have a good one, Micah. I will see you tomorrow.
anyone who has two shirts should share with the one who has none. Anyone who has food should do the same.
Good night. Good night, Micah. I will see you tomorrow.
And the servant of all, the servant of all, oh, the servant of all, the servant of all.
I mean, that was a clever fireball jump, but yeah, they really took a lot of time to actually land it. There's the gold.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy,
Hi, Green.
Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes.
I know that was a clever tactic to try to get me off, but that didn't work quite as I think they expected.
Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. That's the Old Testament. Sing it again. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua,
All right. Play that way? We'll play that way. Hi, Green.
Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. That's the Old Testament. Sing it again,
No,
Genesis.
wait, sorry, Dad, but we don't sing it again.
Where is Green?
Goes Deuteronomy.
Remember? We only sing it twice, not a third time.
No, you know the
They haven't come for me yet, so I'm gonna go grab stuff.
Sing it again.
See if I can get some goods here. So they're just gearing up. They're not really interested in me at the moment. Which is a little surprising. Not super surprising, just a little bit. They just want to absolutely make sure that I get beaten. Do that because I don't care about that. Hi, Green. Oh, I didn't even realize they lost their bed. Totally honest, I didn't realize that happened. This is definitely one of those, they lost the battle but not the war. Or they won the battle but not the war.
Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again.
Maybe that's why they were being so cautious. They realized I was I actually had a potential of doing some serious damage.
About anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your
It's
hearts
blue and gray, and then I'm just kind of existing.
Christ Jesus.
So,
Finally, brothers and sisters,
fun.
whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
GG. Alright. Yeah, that probably wasn't going to go very well for me anyway. Alright. Let's see, what map are we on now? Oh, fun. This is the one where everyone's next to each other.
This is how we know what love is. Jesus
Okay.
Christ laid down his life.
You look mad ugly. Oh, thank you.
This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life
May the Lord bless your day, sir.
for us, for us. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us.
Nah, sorry. What do you mean, sorry?
And we
Have you not spoken?
lay our lives down.
Man cannot retract his word once he said it. He can break his word, but he can't retract it.
Brothers and sisters, and we ought to lay our lives down for
What are you sorry for?
brothers and sisters, for us. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us.
Let's see.
La 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 da 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 la 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 da da la la la
La la la la da di da. La 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 la. La 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 la. This is how we know what love is. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life. Jesus Christ laid down his life. This is how we know what love is. How we know what love is. For Jesus Christ laid down his life. Jesus Christ laid down. That's it. Had a small brain moment while fighting. Okay, it's actually a pretty funny death message.
Jesus Christ laid down his life for us.
Lou's still alive.
Jesus Christ laid down his life for us.
To get go. I think there's a way to get up here normally, but yeah, there is. But whatever.
You shall love the Lord your God with all
No one anticipates the back road.
and all your soul and all
I think yellow's going after their bed, yeah.
you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all
Yep.
your might.
Unsurprised.
Deuteronomy 6:5. All right, kids, come on and join us. It's your turn. Here we go. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might.
Some stuff here. Why don't you use the texture pack? I don't. I just like the default look of Minecraft, personally. I've used texture packs in the past. I just choose not to. It's a personal choice. Also, if you're saying sorry for calling me ugly, you are forgiven. I hold no grudge against you. You are forgiven.
Great job, monsters. Okay, bees, you're on. Swarm on in.
Oops, I accidentally bought a sword. I didn't want a sword.
All right, you guys. Be the song.
Now I do want a sword.
For your God, yeah, all your heart and all your soul and
Yippee!
all your
You're welcome.
Deuteronomy 6:5. Well done, bees. Okay, come on back, everybody. Monsters. These are friendly bees.
I'm not sure where yellow.
Yes, these are friendly
I mean,
Let's all sing it together. You shall love the Lord.
yellow's over here. Looks like they had a similar bridging strat to mine. So actually, they would be the ones to check sideways.
Okay, everyone, that's a wrap. Kids, back to school. Bees, go make some honey. Monsters, go do whatever it is you do. Hey, Wolfman, I'll see you Wednesday.
Not sure what yellow's doing. Because yellow was fighting white and they died. So that didn't end on good terms for yellow.
Do not eat anything you
Wow, okay.
already dead. Do not eat anything.
I've never seen someone with that kind of strategy before. That's a new one.
You may give it to the alien.
I don't know what the heck it is or how it makes any sense, but alright.
You may give it to the alien living in your town. You may give it to the alien. You may give it to the alien. You may give it to the alien living in your town.
What client am I using? I'm using default Minecraft client. I don't use custom usually.
Do not eat anything you find already dead. Do not eat anything.
You could /report.
You may give it to the alien. You may give it to the alien. You may give it to the alien living in your town. You may give it to the alien.
No back.
Give it to the alien. You may give it to the alien.
Yeah, you're a cheater, 100%.
Yeah.
/report. What's the name? Shay0_x. /report. CHAE0_x. This is cheating. Spit report. Okay. Well, GG. You have to be a Giga Chad you have to be a Giga Chad and use Lunar. I've heard of Lunar. I've thought about the stuff that it has. I don't know. I just like using Minecraft standard. Actually, I should say I'm not using standard. I'm using the old Optifine. That's what client I'm using. I forgot I use Optifine for this particular stuff because they don't have. I would use it for the modern stuff, but I don't have. They don't have a 1.20.6 or whatever the current version is. So I use stock for that, and then I use Optifine for this. The OG. The OG of OGs.
Hey, Randall.
Oh, hey there, Sally.
So sorry to interrupt, but I have a question about this song.
Oh, great. I love questions.
Speaking of which, I might as well go ahead and ask you, Moose. Welcome to the stream tonight. I forgot to say that. How are you doing this fine God-given evening?
Foreigner, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, how much more foreign can you get than a whole other planet?
Well, that's just it. It's not really about another planet. It means someone from a different country, like me.
Like you?
Yeah, I was an alien.
Wait, what?
A legal alien. At least I was until I became a US citizen.
No way. Sally Lloyd Jones is an alien.
Well, technically I was, but Randall, you know, that's not really a very nice thing to say to someone. It's a little bit rude, actually.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I should say maybe a space woman?
Pardon?
A space person?
Oh dear, I'm afraid I've really confused you,
Oh
Randall.
wait, I get it. Like in Superman 2. Did you have to give up your powers to become human?
No, Randall,
Oops.
you've gone all topsy-turvy.
Oh, was your planet swallowed up by the sun?
I don't have powers or planets. I'm just a British American that lives here full-time.
Are you controlling my mind right now?
Oh, good heavens, no, I couldn't possibly. Besides, that isn't how it works at all.
How what works?
Oh, my. Is that the time? This has been terribly hot, but I have to fly. I've got to get back to my ship. I mean car.
Nah.
Bye-bye,
Nice little.
Randall.
That's a good shot. Makes sense. Am doing good. Good to hear. And if you are curious or interested, I am a Christian. If you have any questions about that, or you know what I believe, why, etc., feel free to ask. I am here to answer questions. I'm not even kidding. All this gameplay is just for fun. This is not even like the necessarily the main intention of the stream. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. But
Therefore there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ.
hi, Gray.
Because through Christ the law of the Spirit who gives life has set you free from the law of sin and death. Praise God. Therefore there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ.
Oh, how'd they survive that?
Christ the law of the Spirit who gives life has set you free from the law of sin and death. Praise God. Romans
All right. I don't have a bed, so we'll go ahead and just grab my stuff and go for. Can. Let's see if they come across. There they are. Let's go for diamonds. Yes, they're just arming up. They only have chainmail, which is a questionable decision, but it is a strat, and they're allowed to do that. I don't know how it will work out, but interesting decision, Gray. They just gave up. They're like, yep, my bet's gone. You are in Christ, because through Christ the law of the Spirit who gives life has set you free from the law of sin. I'm Christian too, so I know things about the Bible. Okay. I mean, we can't all know everything. Do you have any questions? I'm just curious. What denomination are you? Personally, I grew up in like Pentecostal evangelical, but I'm more of a non-denom. Or at least I go to a non-denominational church, but I would probably say I'm somewhere in that range of, you know, evangelical Pentecostal.
Be dressed, ready for service. Keep your lamps
Burning like servants, waiting on their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds him watching when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will dress himself to serve. He will have in reply. You're Orthodox. That's Catholic, right?
and we'll come and wait on them.
Or is that No, Orthodox. What is Orthodox? My apologies. I am a bit lost on that one. I don't remember what Orthodox is. That's my bad. I don't think it's... No, it's not. I'm trying to remember what Orthodox is. I'm blanking. I'm sorry. Oops. Guess I got some extra blocks. Red's probably gonna come after me. Wouldn't be surprising. Red's really going all out with their protection. It's okay. Well, what is specifically Orthodox? What's the full thing of that? That's an interesting, up and away, I guess. Goodbye. Okay. I have to buy goods, but I should be able to get a sharpness sword here. There we go. I've got at least a minute to do something. We're gonna get sharpness, and then we're gonna go for another fireball, more blocks. I don't see their name, which is a good sign. And then I'm also gonna go for armor. It's like Catholic but different. Well, no offense. I would also say, you know, Baptist is like Catholic but different, based on what they believe. So, that fireball failed, so not exactly super worried. Well, I almost failed that jump. That would have been embarrassing. Not quite sure what that was supposed to do. Your red's still in it. Alright. Dang it. Well, they protect themselves. Rush him. Why not use a texture pack and rush him? This is a question I already answered earlier. I just choose not to. I like the default textures. It's just personal preference. Ultimately. Alright, Red. Come hither. I imagine they have a fireball. Good attempt. There we go. Anyways, hello Cyberlight, welcome. How are you doing this fine guy? Good evening. And you're gonna go Rasmus. See ya. Have a good night. God bless. I'll see you whenever. Well, they're probably coming after me now. Oh, no, they're not. I think they're just going for gear. They ran out of blocks, so they're getting... Ah, dang it. That was embarrassing. I keep forgetting there's a hole there. Like, I know there's a hole in the ground, but I keep forgetting it's there. Good, thanks. Good to hear. I'm not worried about one iron. And then I'm going to patch that so I don't fall through again. That would be embarrassing.
He will rejoice over you with He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. He will rejoice over you with gladness.
GG. Okay. Yeah, I was going to mention, if you are interested, or you have any questions, I am a Christian, and if you have any questions about it, even if you're a Christian or not a Christian, or you're just curious, you know, what does that actually mean? What do you believe? Feel free to ask. I am an open book, and I will do my best to answer. Everything aligned here. I've not been attacked yet. I'm expecting to be attacked soon. It's like... Pink's the only one that has a bed left still, so... Aqua's getting emeralds. They need to survive. Let's see. There we go. Slow him down a little bit, at the very least. Ooh, that's actually a pretty decent haul. Not sure where Pink is, but I'm going to go this way. Hi! Well, they had invis, but they made the... I honestly just would have run past me. That would have been... like, personally... Unfortunately, now I know you're coming. And like I said, I have a trap, so... In some ways, they actually hindered themselves. But where they are, I'm not sure now. I think I saw their name. Nope, that was something else. Do 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 do. Wandering around. So they're gonna suicide, almost certainly.
In you I trust, oh my God. To you, oh Lord, I lift up my soul. In you I trust, oh my God.
Yep.
Do not let me be put to shame.
I knew that was gonna happen.
Enemies triumph over me.
This is why I'm going to immediately do this.
Will never be put to shame.
I go. Let's see if I can draw pink over here. Seems like they're just gearing up. That's how I want to play it, then I'll play it that way. Hi, pink. Shoot. GG. Well played. That was close. I almost had them. That was a nice one. That was a good round. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to get even that close to winning. What? I'm not a 500 star. I don't think. I have to check. I'm pretty sure I'm not 500 star. We'll see if he's accidentally prophetic or what, but... I don't really put much weight in that particular statement. I'm not going to anyway. Honestly, anytime someone says like, oh, you know, someone specific's gonna win, you know, I don't put a whole lot of faith in it. It's just them saying, hey. I wouldn't do that, but I'm going to do that this time. Okay, that's just stupid. I click the thing, it should prioritize. Hey, green. That was actually a pretty smart move. I probably should have just dropped down and let them fall, but take the extra damage, but their move is their move, so. See, what is my star count? It sets you free. Yeah, I'm 48. I was like, level 500. I am not. Because they told me the other day. Yeah, I'm not joining someone's party. I actually do think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream for tonight, though. It's getting late. I need to go. I got things to do in the morning. Thank you all that came out and enjoyed the Bible study and the game. I will see you all in the future. Until then, God bless you and have a good night. And peace out, Fennekin Squad.